did she hear all that? If Yvonne's a big enough listener that I feel like I should tell her. Somebody tell her, please. I hate YouTube right now.
YouTube has been very not good.
Yvonne, I miss you. Sorry we haven't seen
What's
you in a
up,
while.
chica?
Yes, welcome.
Yeah.
Is Ron Hartness around? I haven't seen Ron in a while either.
Hey, why
Why
don't you give your intro? Why don't you give your intro?
No, I'm not doing it again.
Do your intro.
Not until we're live.
We are live.
We are live.
I know, but
we're on both channels.
We're on both
live
channels.
Well, we're on my channel, but I haven't made it unlisted yet. So I'm just seeing
Unlist it.
No, I want to see if the frames start dropping. I don't want to unlist it and be like, oh, you have 74 frames there. No, not yet. So just give your intro, man.
Oh, God. Okay. Then I'll have to do it a third time on yours.
Okay. Uno, dos, tres. You got the finger in your face.
The finger. All right.
I gave it to you.
Welcome. That you know what the finger means. Time for very unofficial War Robots podcast here on the Droopy Sack Entertainment Network. We are here to entertain you. Everyone asked, and you shall receive. This is the positive show you've all been looking for. We are so happy. We are going to be singing zippity doo dah out of our assholes nonstop. You can't stop us. Don't even try. But join us for an all strategic show.
Did you meant to curse the first
time? Monetization of Pixonic. Nothing about the many currencies, and nothing about the fact that it's difficult if you're a new player, and we want you to stick around. So we're going to give you, hopefully, tips on how to be a better player. Boys, haven't seen you in a while. That was the intro.
Now, Mercy, the one movie, Briar Rabbit. That's the one movie Disney wants.
And I did that whole thing the first time. Guys, I did it all the first time, and they didn't hear it.
My face is hurting bad. I got a cramp in my jaw, in my neck, my back.
I struggled to listen. My wife was telling me a story. And then halfway through, I realized I didn't know what was going on. And so I was like, I'm sorry. Can you start over?
I should look at the chat.
Yeah, it's extravagant.
Hey, Droopy, are you unlisted? Or are you listed now?
Are you public? You know what's fascinating is if you look at your channel, you have double click your video icon on your Discord. Because when I looked at yours, I was like, wait a minute, I'm screwing up something. Now, if you double click your video, it's on a different monitor for me. But if you double click your video and it only shows the three of us across the screen, but it gets rid of the labels on the top. What'd you do? Double click Shane now. Double click you. No, don't click your individual. Yeah, there you go. So now maximize that screen.
How do I do that?
It should be at the very bottom right-hand corner.
Like that?
It hasn't buffered yet, so I can't see what it looks like.
We're due to some technical difficulties from Mr. H, who has no idea what he's doing right now.
No, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Oh, we disappeared.
All right, so I'm not getting any frames lost, so I'm going to make mine unlisted.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
All right, so am I doing the beginning again?
No.
We are going to hop over to Droopy Sack's channel. We wanted to see if this would work, if YouTube was good and everything. So I do apologize for all the technical difficulties on my channel.
Difficulties.
Droopy is going. I can keep mine open.
Hey, for everyone that's just showing up, go to the beginning. Hey, I'm going to get my hat. My special hat.
No, I'm going
to
do it again.
No, don't do it was beautiful the first time. Why are you going to mess up the beauty? Beauty is untainted. You just gotta leave it as it is.
You got me. I didn't want to do it the second time. Now you got me jacked.
I don't know about these video settings, man. I'm not so good with this stuff.
All right, is the Droopy Stack upload then going?
Yeah, it's going.
All right, I found it. Well, I want to see the chat. So, hey, someday we're going to act like we have a real show.
Someday we're going to have it together.
Watch and pay attention to, and that, we actually work at to make real. I'm sorry, everybody. It's just a mental breakdown. It's Halloween. I'm very scared. Where did he go? Oh.
Sometime we're
come
gonna
back
get
from
together.
the chat and he's gone. All right,
I had to get my hat.
War Robots. It's pink. I haven't seen that one yet.
Lols.
I haven't seen that one yet. That's all right.
It's actually
Have
for
you worn
Amber's,
that one before?
my wife's
Oh.
costume.
Ooh, you're a conehead.
She's
It's for my wife's
princess,
costume,
baby.
and that's how she rolls.
I know a princess when I see one. All right. Very unofficial War Robots podcast. That one's Josh. The other one's Jason. I'm Shane.
He is a wizard.
And for those of you who are just joining us, get ready for your assholes to sing Zippity Doo Dah. Let's get into it. All right. It's all about strategy this time. And I want to talk about. What the hell do I want to talk about? Oh, here we go. Let's talk about approach right off the bat. Dropping in. I don't want to talk about monetization. I don't want to talk about currencies. I want to talk about the grind. I want to talk about the fact that practically every player out there, except for the top of the food chain, the whales, you know who we're talking about, you're going to be up against, for the most part, competition that shall trounce you if given the chance, and their pure firepower is overwhelming. So, first of all, as Jason sips his wine so sweetly, my princess makes sure that we're not dropping frames and we don't have to switch to Jason's channel. Let's go in. You drop in and you're approaching. Are you alone or are you with somebody? When you guys drop in, what do you guys head to a beacon first? Now, I'm going to assume for the most part we're talking beacons, unless you guys want to bring up another for instance. But if we're talking beacons, do you guys head for a beacon first? Do you guys evaluate? Oh my gosh, everybody took off and no one went for the side beacon. Is that that's the first thing I look for? Is, hey man, is everybody taking off towards a beacon? Like especially to our home
bell burner.
Because you got to love it when nobody covers.
I actually stopped doing that maybe 2 days ago when I got like 6 beacons and we lost and I got last place because no one else was going for beacons. Everyone was going for damage. Well, apparently I didn't get the memo that damage trumps beacons. If you really want to play, this hat looks horrendous. If you actually don't want to lose league status, you lose league status, you lose your tokens,
your crates and everything good.
Which I'm like, man, I'm not going to lose my crates, man. I'm going for damage. So I even wanted to change my name to, what is it? I don't get beacons. Don't count on me to get beacons or something like that because someone was getting.
You could be the anti person because the other guy there's a guy that says I've got beacons or got your beacons or something like that.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Oh man, gotcha.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
And he goes by 6 different monikers depending on Discord or Facebook. Really. It's always fun to try to get a hold of Gotcha and talk to the right person.
Yeah, but it's hard to get beacons now because everyone's going right in towards center. And you can tell that the temperature is everyone's going for damage over beacons.
Yeah, I go center. I feel bad, but I go center.
Okay. Jason, it's been a while and a lot has happened in the meantime. But you used to specifically drop in your Lancelot because it was slower. You didn't rush to a beacon, I guess, is the strategy. You dropped in your big bad slow boy.
Right.
What do you drop in with now? Is it map specific?
No, it can be. Usually I drop in into the Bulgasari, and that is kind of along the same guidelines as well. It's the bigger defensive dude. And my thought process is to try and usually go for center with it because I have scourges on it and see if I can either get center or help my team hold center. And by having a thicker bot, a bot that has a shield, a bot that has good health, can hold it for a little while until my team establishes a good map presence, I guess you could say.
Like a flank.
Mm-hmm.
Flanking, you need flank, depending on match. So, Yamato, you got to wait for that flanking
I
to
tell
occur.
you, I took out my Falcon a couple of days ago, my Falcon Dragoon with a Glory on it, and I put in my Griffin with Columbus and Pins, and that's the other bot that I drop in first with. I like to drop
Your
in at least,
Griffin?
Yeah, I like to drop in with some
Shane,
some
what were we
decent
talking
range.
about?
So my Raven's level 1, so I'm
You might as well
not
use that
even-
Griffin while you can, because pretty soon it's not going to make it worth spit.
You know what? What's
they said
interesting?
that when they said that in the Lancelot days, and here I am.
2.5
I'm
years
glad
later.
I'm glad you're being successful with it.
2.5
really,
years later after. But what's fascinating
Has
about
it
what
been
you
that
said,
long?
Jason, is
Dang.
when you're talking about going into center and you're trying to protect center and hold center for as long as you can with the bot that has the HP and it has the shield. What's fascinating is that if that one time that you go in and you say, you know what, I'm going to try this different strategy. I'm going to go into center. I'm going to kind of hang off to the side and I'm going to use some barriers between myself and whoever it is that's trying to go into center. I'm going to hold it as long as I can in this position and fight the people that ends up coming into my left, my right, or behind me or above me. That strategy works and you're like, you know what, I'm going to do the same thing again with the same build every single time. And what's funny is that mindset gets you almost like a set up for failure the next match, because the next match, instead of having all energy weapons, you have all rockets. So you're having to dash splash. And so the whole strategy of going behind barriers, having a barrier between you and the people that are trying to rush in the center and protecting your left and your right and above you and behind you doesn't work out too well. Your bot goes bye-bye. So you know what? I'm going to do that same strategy next time. And the next time you get energy weapons, or you get all hell burners because you go against 1%, or Omega, or whoever. You know what I mean?
There's quite a few variables. I mean, it's not
always different.
You can't pick one strategy, one bot, and drop every time.
It's hard as fudge to not do that.
And just be like perfect with it. I mean, you can go at it with a basic strategy because either of the map or the game mode that you've chosen.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the next step then is, so you've dropped in with whatever you've decided for whatever reason. You've got to know how much firepower you're packing, unless you're in a Hellburn or something like that. But you got to know the math, and you got to do it quickly. And as you're approaching, are you with somebody? If you're all by yourself, you've got to assess whether or not you should engage a target, because if you need to engage because of the gameplay is dictating that you be aggressive, then so be it. And you have to do your best. You have to get them to try, either bait them, you have to do whatever, or you just have to put on your helmet and say, stick me in, coach, run into the brick wall and do as much damage as you can before he takes you out. She, there be. And I would say that assess your target while looking at your approach path, because if you've learned anything from this new map, is that your approach path to a lot of these, especially Center Beacon, is vulnerable to a lot of 600-meter weapons from a lot of very precarious locations, my friends. Stuff you got to watch out for. So on the new castle map, as you're approaching center, everyone beware. I mean, some of you are saying, duh, but I already learned that. We have, and you've almost have to use stealth in that approach. But looking at your approach path, try to identify those vulnerable lines of sight. You guys know what I'm talking about. And Droopy, on the new map, do you find approaching center is kind of a
kamikaze mission?
Yeah, but a task then, because of that, best left to a duo.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't have
it
the
really
HP.
is.
I don't have the
Castle
HP.
map is deceivingly difficult.
Well, what a great setup. What a fantastic setup. The designers of that map, I got to say, I'm very happy with the detail.
Mhm.
I'm very happy with those little see-through energy barriers. That was cool. And that if you stand too close to those, you'll still take some damage, guys. If you you guys got to be
That's
careful.
it.
Have you noticed that?
I learned the
The
hard
energy
way.
barriers?
I was
Yeah,
like, man,
you
I
still-
got enough HP to jump and do a little bit more damage, but nope. Somebody got me with rockets, and I didn't think that barrier was going to allow any of the splash to come through. 'Cause I was
I
hugging it
felt the
real
effects
close.
of plasma.
Really?
Yes, and I felt no, it wasn't like full on, but I was hugging it way too well, and I don't know if I was too close to the edge or what, but I started to take a little damage. Like, really, I have to step back even for this. And I'll say it again. This is a side note, but as I'm thinking of this map and what I just said about the range, guys, it can't be just me. The Dragoon seems to hit me beyond 600 meters.
Yes. That's the same thing.
What
with
It's
is
a little
that?
bit. You know what's interesting? It's a little bit extra. Like it's like 605, 600.
Oh no, it's like 615,
Yes.
maybe 615,
But-
610.
But I was on the other end of a Columbus, and I was like at 503 or 504, and the splash damage didn't get me. And I found that interesting.
wonder
I was
why
like,
that
did they
is.
nerf the splash damage on the Columbus? But
They
are
would
they increasing the
mention
range
it.
on some other weapons and stuff?
They don't do silent
Nah.
nerfs, Jason. There's no silent nerfs. None.
Excuse me.
They don't.
Excel.
They add everything in the fine print.
Everything is.
Check the
sometimes I
website.
chalk- yeah,
is.
he's right.
All of it.
Because
You know
it's
what's
something
interesting?
that's-
They
he's
don't do
still-
they don't do silent nerfs or buffs, right? Supposedly, but they also have changed game mechanics before. Is that a nerf or a buff? Like that? I don't know.
Game
that's a
mechanics.
They might not.
It's a nerf. It's a nerf depending on the weapon you're talking about, and if we're going to talk about the shock train, it's a nerf.
It depends on who it favors.
I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
they did
that's
something
another.
to
That's
it.
probably right.
Whatever,
It's who in favor.
It's a buff
Shot
for the
train-
defensive player, for the player that's trying to defend against the weapon. If it's
See?
a nerf for the player that has the weapon.
I don't. I feel like something changed. But,
God of
you know,
War in the chat here is, in your opinion,
God.
where is the
Why did
game
you ask
headed?
that
I'm going to let
question?
you guys start with that, please.
Why did you
Jason,
ask
you
that
just stuck on
question?
some wine. Why don't you start before DSAC? Unless DSAC's going to blow an aneurysm.
I already did
where
earlier.
is
Or
the
blow a
game?
blood vessel,
I
I
think the
guess.
game is headed for rocky ground, because the longer the new economy is in place, the more held back new players are going to be, and I think older players are getting frustrated. And so I think what's going to happen is the higher leagues are going to empty out and the beginner leagues are going to flood. And I think it's going to cause an imbalance in matchmaking, and matchmaking is going to get worse. That's just a thought.
DSAC.
You remember that dual rod pendulum analogy that I shared with you guys before, where
Oh, very much so.
like with the fine tuning theory, you have
balance.
God, it's so strange. Like if you have, so this is my computer, this is my keyboard. And so imagine every single one of these keys on the keyboard have a specific variable that it's set to. The amount of distance that a specific bot, this particular bot can jump. This one is a specific height that a bot can jump. This one is the side-to-side distance, or the speed that in linear speed that the bot can go. And this one is changed in directions. And this one is the amount of splash damage for this particular weapon. So you have all of these like hundreds or thousands of variables. But if you change one of those variables, the fine-tuning theory, this is just basic layman's explanation to it, because I can't even understand it when I go deep dive into it. But when you change that one dial, you have to change all the others change automatically to compensate to have equilibrium or to have a balance. And so when you keep adding more and more and more computer keys and more variables, you're bound to get what we get is glitches, get issues with, plasma not registering, or splash going all the way to freaking 550 when it's only supposed to go to really 500, between 500 and 515 ish.
Right.
But the dual rod pendulum is, if you have that one rod and you swing it from side to side, it follows a very predictable pattern like this. But if you add a second rod, like a nunchuck, and you swing it from side to side, when that second rod gets all the way to the top to follow the first one, there's a lag. And then it starts to whip, and it has very unpredictable patterns when you keep whipping the first rod. But if you add another rod, a third rod, it's so chaotic with that side-to-side motion that it becomes very, very, very unpredictable, which is what we're getting. The idea of is that we keep seeing them stack more ridiculously, like, well, I don't know if ridiculous if the word for it, because we're putting in comparison to what we started with walking war robots, when all of the robots were walking. And the fastest was the Gepard, and the Gepard at 58 kilometers per hour. It had no dash, it had no jump, it had no stealth. But now we have the Pursuer, which the Pursuer gets, 66 kilometers per hour, but then for 10 seconds it not only gets stealth, but it gets up to 88 kilometers per hour.
Yeah.
And then you add on top of that, you have lockdown weapons in addition to the gusts or whatever other weapons. It's really the gusts and the lockdown weapons. Or I've seen the Scourge being used a lot more. Scourge are very dope weapons. They're very, 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 very powerful if they're
Yeah,
MK2.
put them back in.
If they're MK2. But the places that this game is heading is really, I think, is uncharted. I don't know if the people that are designing all these new weapons and all these new bots were on the team from the get-go. Because if that person was for the get-go, this was all probably planned. This was probably on the drawing board for a 5-year plan. They're going to get the game from being walking war robots to freaking Starship Trooper war robots, where the bots can just disappear like the freaking
Portals.
like in like portals and transport to the other side of the map. I don't know. But it's going to go through a big shift. That's for sure.
I think all this was planned after Male RU bought Pixonic. I think
when was
all
that?
This has been coming down. That was like a year and a half ago.
That
Maybe
was
2 years ago.
It was 2 years ago.
I think, yeah, and that would make sense for around the time. That's when they started releasing the Wild West bots. And then a short time after that, content started really being pushed. Content, because there were so long the game went without like constant stuff being added. It was like it was like
a quarter of time, like 3 months.
Yeah,
right?
It was like 4 times a year almost. You would get something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they were like, okay, well, we now have a game. We bought this game. We want to make money off this game. Let's start generating revenue. Let's start making more content, because that's what mobile games do now. They just generate new content. I feel like that's where it started.
Well, when we take into account that we are trying to do our best against these terrible odds that were created with MK2, a lot of us were that had come up over the past year or so, were starting to become championship players. A whole bunch of people that I had started to come in with had started to reach. So I happen to know quite a few of them. And several of them are still free to play. They're going to have a lot of issues with all the new content that is coming out, because a lot of it is, in Manny's words, incredibly overpowering.
But is that what he's referring to? Is that on the test server
all I'm saying
being
is
released?
All I'm saying is because of that, these free-to-play players are going to have a hard time keeping their level if they're unable to acquire some of what's coming down the pipeline. If it comes to us in these very powerful forms, they just aren't going to have the stuff to compete. They'll fall down. They'll still be able to play. They just will probably fall down some levels, but they're going to need to play the best game as possible. And as you start to approach other robots on the field, the bot you're in obviously is so important. Know whether or not you're going to be able to take out that next bot with one salvo or not, because you don't want to push if you don't have enough horsepower to take out the robot you're up against. So if you're in a jumping bot, you've got to realize, that there's a decision to be made. Do I use my jump offensively or defensively, depending on the robot? Then do I use my stealth? And because stealth is so important in this game, do I use it as a finishing blow, or do I use it to peck away and then head for cover? And then that brings us to a robot I'd like to talk a little bit about. It's a very interesting robot. So many people have been able to get a hold of as a pursuer. And the pursuer is a peculiar beast. It can be very, very powerful with all sorts of setups. The gust being so very important in that, and especially if you start sticking on those halos. Halos start to become very effective on that robot because of its capability with stealth. But with that robot comes a decision. During your very generous amount of stealth, do you have enough to finish off your target? Because at around 4 seconds left, you got to decide, do I stay in the game and yell Nike, or do I die because I've overstepped my bounds and my stealth is gone and I have not had yet to cover? Some of it's a feel because it happens so very fast. But you guys, when you use pursuers, what are your favorite setups for that?
Personally, I only use the gust setup, just 3 gusts. I would like to use 3 sparks, but I don't have 3 sparks leveled. And then obviously another good combo for that would be 2 gust and the rooting weapon or whatever.
Oh, Colton.
I know, right?
Sorry, please continue.
Thank you for the donation, Colton, on Droopy's channel. But yeah.
By the way, that man, as you saw earlier, we still are not having the best of luck with our equipment, and I'm not going to try to get a guest on here until I know. I was hoping tonight's show would go smooth, flawlessly, so that I could have Blitherin on next week if he was available, because I wanted to make sure it didn't just shut off and we had a guest. Yeah. But Blith, you're still on my list. I want to make sure we know what we're doing.
I know what's you want to know what's funny? I was live streaming. I was live streaming yesterday, I think it was, and Blitherin hopped on my live stream, and then he hopped off and hopped into a game, and we wound up in a game together on my live stream. He kicked my butt in that game, and then came back.
He got on just to kick your. I would.
It was great. It's great. But to answer your question on the pursuer, the pursuer is so broken. You've got so much time in stealth that you could go and pursue your target for like 5 to 6 seconds in stealth, and then have another 5 to 6 seconds to get out and back into cover.
5 to 6? Not quite.
I don't think it's that long. I don't think so.
Well, you got 5. It's like a 10-second stealth. You got 5 seconds to like pursue your opponent, and 5 seconds to get back.
You're talking about you're facing people that are in Gold League.
I'm not in Gold League.
Or people that are only in Griffins. Or people that are only in Ravens.
What I mean by that is, like, you don't have to go for the kill in the pursuer. That's not necessarily the point.
Yes, and it's something you must decide upon.
Yeah, because like, you've got the rest of that time. Over, kids. You got the rest of that time to get out.
Yeah,
I don't think that way. I think of it like
5 seconds of stealth. Okay, fine.
Okay, so when I was in the army, when we were preparing to go to Afghanistan, we had to go through. It was almost every week. It was probably like maybe, let's say, every other week. We had to spend 4 or 5 days out at this mock city, and this mock city was in in Fayetteville, or it's in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, and we jump in at like 1 o'clock in the morning, zero illuminability. We don our nods. We can see night. We all bright green, right? And we walked up onto the city. We had to sneak up on the city, and we had to take it over. And we had to go from room to room, and we had to clear the room. We had to feel the inside of the doorways for booby traps, right? And this is what stealth, the pursuer, or actually any bot that has stealth, this is what it's like. When you have your firearm, you're coming through the room and picking your zone of where you're going to fire. If you walked in like a noob, and you have your firearm all the way out here, and you can see the muzzle of that firearm, the M4, the M16, or whatever it is that you have, and you're maybe the enemy on the other side of the room, and you can see that soldier walking in before that soldier actually comes through and aims. That's equivalent to hitting the stealth when you're still behind cover, when you haven't decided if you're going to go to the beacon or take that kill or whatever, and you've wasted the first 2 seconds maybe of your stealth. Now you have maybe 3 to 6 seconds to aggress, but then you have to, and I was telling you, Shane, preparing for that video of stealth, it's that now you have to figure out how you're going to use the rest of that stealth to survive. And most players don't actually think about that last few seconds. Maybe they finished off that particular target that they go after, that they can use the stealth to actually kill him. But they still have to get to cover so that they can survive the next exchange. So most people are still out in the open when their stealth runs out. Now you could be the player that has full MK2 with boosters and absolutely annihilate everyone, like myself. Or you can be like myself and have level 10, 11, 12 that I can't survive an exchange, nor can I kill a target if I've committed the entire 10 seconds to try to take them out. Most people I can't kill. So it's like, pop, 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 survive another day, I'm running. But it's like...
When you run backwards with yours, do you turn around to see them shooting at you?
Absolutely not, man. I'll end up running into a wall.
You gotta turn that tail and run.
Oh man, I am not worrying.
Away.
I am not.
I just can see you turning around, maybe flipping a middle finger while you did it.
That little foam finger pop up.
It's interesting that you said that too about not being able to finish off your target, because ever since they nerfed the gust, you can't kill anybody with it.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. Is exactly it.
You hurt people, you cripple them, you make it easier for your teammates to kill them. But that's why I'm saying you go in, you damage, and then you get out, because you can't kill them nowadays. Yeah. You can't.
Well, as we said in the beginning, you do the math, and if they're obviously, you're probably referring to them being full health, but if you've got a tactical advantage, that's when you can get aggressive with it. When I've got enough in the tank, they've got half-life, whatever it is, I know I can take this guy out. Then you can get aggressive with it, which on that castle map is extremely important. It's just such a well laid out map as far as I am considered. Hey, Giga, what's up, buddy? Nice to see Dave around. I've seen several others I probably should say hi to. Somebody gave us a nice donation earlier too, and I missed it. Damn it. So thank you. So we're talking about the Pursuer. I have one last question for you on it. I've asked it before. I just wanted to know if it's changed, and I want to know out there if anybody else has a different opinion. And I'm talking about if you've got a halo on that. If you've got more than one, that's different. But if you've got one, I still am mounting it on the center because of its arc pattern. I am a terrible aimer with it, with the gusts. If I have to lead my target, or if it's on the side, I just don't hit with the gusts as well when I try to lead because it's on the side, and I don't corner shoot with it as much as probably I should. But guys, where are you putting yours if you're using one? Your Halo?
I don't have one.
Oh, I thought you did. Josh, when you...
I put it in the center.
Yeah.
Because I don't.
Mhm.
When I'm actually a lot more choosy of who I go after, because now I know what
JJ
specific
on the
people are
side.
in and what my weaknesses are, and my weaknesses is not being the the um, the the type of offensive player that can cause a lot of damage for a long period of time. I can't even do a lot of damage for a short amount of time. So I use my
You're so
Halo.
full of crap.
I'm just no for some matches I am, but other matches, which is majority of the time, it doesn't work out that way. I've realized that I'm more of a assistance player or a accessory. No, I'm a teammate. The person that if I have gusts like you were talking about, Jason, I'm the one that looks out for the Ansel shields, and I'll take down an Ansel shield for my dude that has splash, because I
Yeah.
can tell my guy with splash is hesitant to take out that full that Ancelot to take down the Ansel shield, because now he's going to be left vulnerable. He's not going to have enough salvo to actually do anything more than just keep taking down an Ansel shield. So I'm going to take that
Yeah.
dude's Ansel shield down and then move on to the next target, because I know that my guy with the splash is going to be able to cause a lot of damage to Ancelot, or with the Haiichi or something else, that especially the Hellburners and stuff. I'm going to try to get with somebody who has splash. I'm not going to pair myself with someone who has plasma or some type of energy weapon, because he can handle himself. He can take down a lot of the guy's shield himself. I'm going to pair myself up with somebody and try to protect his six that has the splash or has some kinetic weapon.
I'm real interested to see. Well, once there are more of them out there, more
Halos?
like for as example, yeah, lockdowns. But we'll take the Halo. Say once you get two, and you're going to put it on this weapon, then obviously you put them on the sides to get that arc to cover, and that's when you start to really have a lockdown weapon for multiple robots. I mean, I know you could do it otherwise, but it's a lot easier when that art pattern is that wide. But then I'm real curious what type of destructive power that's going to have. You've got to get real close with a Halo for it to have the same kind of pump that a Gust
Oh
can
my
usually
God.
deliver.
I'm not looking to cause damage. I'm looking to just lock the person down.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
well,
Because
sure.
once
But
you
it's
lock them down, you can damage them easier with the gusts or whatever. So they do go down
okay.
easier anyway.
So with that in mind, you get a hold of your second Halo, and let's say you even got the funds to level it.
Mhm.
Do you leave it off?
What do you mean?
Do you
Leave it
not
off the
put
bot?
two of them on if you
Hell
have
no,
two?
man. Nah, man. No, you need to bring more than just a brick to take out Debo. You need to have as much of, like, let's say, why you think you've been seeing a lot more of the hybrid builds, because the lockdown weapons are not like, you're every once in a while you'll see onesies and twosies out there that have like a Bulgasari with 3 of them, or a Spectre with 4 of them. But most of the time you're going to see one, and it's on that select spot, and then that person does that select fire until they lock down that person, and then unleash that salvo of whatever it is that they have on that particular bot. Like I've seen a lockdown weapon on every single bot in a 5-person hangar and they have regular Joe Schmo bots in there that everyone else has, but they have that one lockdown weapon to help give them the advantage, and they're sacrificing the rest of their salvo that they would have been doing more damage with for that ability to lock that person down.
Yeah.
Are they doing it for selfish reasons? I don't know. Are they doing it
I feel.
Go ahead.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I really do feel like the rooting weapons are more for your teammates. You root them, and then your teammates can come in and finish them off. Because that rooting weapon, it does a lot of damage. It shouldn't do a lot of damage, but it shouldn't really do much damage at all, because it should be a support weapon. If the rooting ability is like supremely powerful, therefore it should be a support weapon. Shouldn't hardly do any damage. Should root them so your teammates can come in and kill them.
Would that presuppose that part of the algorithm is taking into account the person that you're shooting is not in nowhere close in proximity to you actually engaging offensively, you're just taking your rooting weapon to lock them down and then going quickly onto the next target that's closest to you, knowing that you just locked that person down for the person that your teammate is about to take out. That would also presuppose that you are using your gusts to take down Ansel shields for your teammates, for your teammate to take their salvo of splash or kinetic to take that person out. But would the algorithm take that into account, Shane?
Well, consider this. Our fastest robots, all with lockdown combinations. I'm talking about a Kimbot with either 2 lockdowns or a combination of one and not, because a Kamichi is just so fast and can run around, and then you take a Strider, and these bots don't have stealth, but consider a Strider in the hands of someone like Ben, or you start to put that what is it, the glory in the heavy weapon lockdown, because that arc is huge, and then you put on things on the side, or you put 2 halos on the side and something devastating. The combinations for some of our fastest robots got a little interesting when you start to talk about these mixtures in which you're talking about. Right now it's not an easy order to start to put together things like that, but eventually we are all going to see glories, because I don't see very many of the glories, the heavy part, but we're going to start to see those. Our opinions might start to change a little bit. I really am interested to see how that pans out. Are you still a bit reluctant? Is it because, with stealth, are you reluctant to get more because of economy and so forth? But your minds may change once you start to get, taken down by different combinations than just having one. So I'll be interested to see if 2 or 3 become the go-to for certain robots with like speed and so forth, and a Strider with a heavy one and 2 lights, and it's like, wow, really, something to think about. But talking a heavy and 2 lights and the rooting weapon and a couple of other things, but I'd like to bring up the rise of the Mercury and how now the Mercury.
Can I say one more thing
about
the Pursuer? Not the Pursuer, the rooting weapons and stuff. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I was gonna add the Mercury, but so please, so same thing.
It just came up to me. It came on, an idea, you could say, that
that's why we do this.
Indeed. I would have loved to have seen the rooting mechanic, not in a weapon, but as an ability for a robot that would potentially lay mines with a minefield type pattern. I feel
you're not impressed with the mechanics of that weapon, is that right?
I feel like the weapon itself is too powerful. Like a rooting weapon is a bit much, but a one robot that would have a rooting mechanic on it, like it could drop mines, and people that weren't paying attention could get stuck in that minefield. That would be I think a more balanced mechanic for it.
Yeah.
Because you may start seeing people running 3 or 4 rooting weapons just to make sure they have that 100% chance or 80%, whatever it is, to root. Because I can totally see some, higher end claims 1%, whatever, running like 3 or 4 exclusive rooting robots.
Yes, think about a Spectre with 4 of them on there. And then think about a Mercury, because it's a fun robot, and I just wanted to bring it up. Now that rooting weapons are more prevalent in the higher leagues, if you have stealth, you run it as much as possible, minus a a few Furies and some Menders and some other stuff here and there, of course, but much more than usual. And then the Mercury got a little bit of a buff. So for now, for the near future, the Mercury shall be a fun robot to go goof with. Think about putting a glory on top of that thing and then 2 halos. But we got to have the cashless silver Rama to get through that. It might be a while, but I like the idea of it. I just hope not everybody else gets a hold of the damn thing and just wastes my ass with it before I get a chance to ever see the light of day with that.
That's a mean combo. A lockdown Mercury.
Yeah, and the Mercury's a tough one. I would like the jump just a little bit bigger so that a little longer so that the jump and attack is just a little bit more pronounced. Like, here he comes. It's like, whoa, because he's the only robot that can land and make that big splash. I'd kind of love it if his jump was, one of the biggest jumps so that you could really take advantage of that more. It's just, I know some guys are real good at it, and I can use the jump and splash effect, just not as often and as fun as it would be if I had to jump or just.
That's the kind of combo that would really piss you off. Now I think.
Wouldn't it though?
Gaster the Skeleton asked an interesting question. Did you choose the Mercury or the Invader?
Mercury.
Future questions like that.
Mercury.
That's a tough one, man.
It is, and I think what it comes down to is how the suppression bots really what they look like when the game starts being flooded with them. That's when we'll really be able
Are you guys looking at the chat on Jason's? I can only see the chat on Droopy's. Are they talking on Jason's too? If you guys are talking on Jason's, sorry, I can't see it.
I can read them. I have mine pulled up and Droopy's on my phone.
All right, fly. All right, I'll take that. It's time for
Wheel of Fortune.
Oh, no. Something much more entertaining. This is a little segment I like to call, Oh Yeah, Yags, I totally feel you. And so there's this posting celebrating the half off of upgrade times for 18.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Going on currently.
That's such a slap in the face.
Someone posted that in Facebook and just said they were very excited. There was general jubilation about the fact that there were half off upgrade times for
somebody.
And I get it, man. It's pretty cool. I mean, that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun.
Let me see if I can find it.
And if you're gonna do it, everybody,
let's just say
start with the little stuff. And I'll get to you, Jason. But there was all except for the voice of reason who chimed in, and reason, thy name is Alex, father of Noah, keeper of the iron scrolls of wisdom, imparted him by the Ancient One, creator of the iron, the abbot of Norse himself, the patriarch, life giver to all that is iron and her legion of minions. Let your logic span the realms of all existence, mighty Yags, for today, tomorrow, and beyond infinity. What about the silver kids? That is my man, Alex. That's great. But as soon as you start to kick in some of these half, you guys feel me on this?
I think it was probably the lowest blow they've done in a really long time. I think they expected it to go over really, really well. Like, here you guys go. Here's a present. Nice. And I think it was a really big, huge slap in the face, because it was like, here you go. Here's that thing you almost already had. And we're going to give it back to you, but it's going to be like a surprise. It's going to be a gift.
And it's only going to be, for 18 days?
Yeah,
but it's almost like the new iPhone, dude. It's like, here, it's the most expensive thing out there, and you want one, but you can't have it.
It's not going to be any cheaper, but you can get it 2 times faster. Great, fantastic.
They should have given us both. I mean, I'm asking for too much.
No,
they should have given us half on, or at least 25% off of the price to make that possible, and instead they just set us all up for failure and deception. And Oh,
So
the
this is what I
feelings
did.
of harassment and all the things that we've come to hate.
This is
And
what
we
I
just
did.
end up buying more silver anyway and pushing them,
Balls.
and then
This
having
is what I did.
regret.
So I am upgrading all of my old stuff, my Orkans, my Terrans, anything that's pre 2.0 or whatever, so that it basically is half off silver.
Yeah.
Number one, and number two, I can finally. It's like I'm not going to spend half a year upgrading my hangar for it. I can actually get some of this stuff up to MK2 relatively quickly. You know what I mean? Because hold on, sorry guys, 1 second.
That's all right, Daddy. Joshua, you're right. You run out of silver so quick. It's nice. It was cool, but they should have made it a little bit more, I guess, obtainable by being able to support it with silver. And you ask anybody from Pixar, I'm sure they'll say, "Hey, man, just play the game and earn that silver." And yeah, cool. You're probably right. I should probably shut up, play the game, and earn that silver. It just would have been nice if they would have given us a little break on the silver too. Because I tell you, that little individual sale that pops up for silver, where it gives you 10% off silver for $10, give me a break. That ain't gonna fly. That's just.
But do you think that the mindset would be okay? So I think that at least they're giving us something.
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
But I got no silver.
But I only have enough silver. I only have enough silver for like a light weapon to upgrade. A light weapon. But at least I can upgrade a light weapon. Some players can't even upgrade that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think for to give context to those of you guys that are out there that like, damn, why do these guys like complaining about this and that? It's not as bad where I'm at, wherever you are, blah, blah, blah. I know for me, I should not, based on the player pool, I should not be in Champion League. I know I shouldn't be.
I shouldn't either.
I almost feel the same way now.
I know I know I'm great at some things, but I'm not good enough at others to remain and sustain growing in a division, a measurement that categorizes players based on skill, not based on hanger strength. Because we all know that hanger strength is not the variable that they match players against. So I'm in a player pool in Champion League of players that are great players and they have strong hangers. I'm a good player with a weak hanger. And
Same.
So I bounce back and forth based on it, and it kind of feels like what you and I were talking about earlier, which is the player pool. It doesn't seem like there's a large player pool in the Champion League that would, and maybe it is. Maybe there's a great player pool. It's just that there's too many game modes that waters them down.
Yeah.
Like you dropped the remember that game back in the 80s and 70s, maybe even earlier than that, but I know it was in the 80s, where you drop the quarter down and it drops through these pins, and then you try to kind of guess where it's going to land on the very bottom of that board. I don't know. I don't remember what that game was.
Price is Right fans would call
Price is Right was like that. Yes, exactly like that.
Palinko, baby.
Yes. So wherever it lands, there's where you land. But
yeah.
If there were less of an option, there would be more players to choose from. Like if they had Legend League was the legend players. They were the great players of skill and the strong hangers. Instead, you get really good players, but with weak hangers. You get good players with weak hangers. You have horrible players with strong hangers. And they're all kind of meshed together. And then the great players with the strong hangers end up on top. The good players with the weak hangers at the bottom, and then they end up losing the trophies, losing the silver, and then they kind of teeter-totter around that Master and Champion League. And then when they get punished at the end for the trophies or going for beacons, what we were talking about earlier. They go for beacons, they put beacons as priority, and they get dropped down at the very bottom of the losing match, which some matches don't even make sense. Like, you work your ass off, so does everyone on your team. It's just you still lose, or you didn't even try. Neither did anyone else on your team, but you still won. And it doesn't
Tesla
really make
said
sense.
it best too.
What do you say?
Tesla's like he said he hates it when he does like when he has like a really good game, and he said, well, direct quote, I hate when I do really good in a battle, and then when it comes to the final score, I only scored 500. And I find like I have that problem all the time. Like, I feel like I did really, really good, and then my 500,000 was like the bottom of the barrel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to go with your like good playing or bad hanger, you know, it just sucks.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you start to think. That's when Shane, you were bringing up lockdown weapons, and Jason, you were kind of addressing like, your playing style and whatnot. When the lockdown weapons first came out, the analogy that I had in my head of when I describe it to people was, you and I were in a slap boxing match. We're going to show skill. I know how to fight. I know how to throw hands. I used to fight in the army. I used to box in the streets. We used to fight for money. That's what we did. But I thought we were slap boxing. Why did you just throw a closed fist? So that lockdown weapon is now closed fist, but I am having to wear 16-ounce gloves. Because I can't survive, not only because I can't run if I get locked down. I'm trying to survive splash from MK2 with my level 11, Raven, or my level 11 Spectre, or whatever it is. I'm relying on my ability to run, to hide, for that exchange so that I can get my bearings and figure out where I'm at. But I get locked down. I can't run anymore. I'm not complaining about the lockdowns because I have lockdown weapons. It's the way of the battle. But the landscape is changing so fast that we can't catch up to it. Because we don't have enough silver.
Not with the current upgrade cycle times.
With the upgrade cycle times. Great addition to that.
I feel like, using your own analogy, that MK2 is like putting bronze knuckles underneath your boxing gloves.
It's true.
I think it's like a kick.
And then
right
boosters.
To Jimmy, and they hit both the left and the right mommy and daddy at the same time with a really wide foot.
What a Shaq foot.
Mercy.
What a Shaq foot.
I do. We do have to get out of here soon. We've been on for over an hour, or about an hour now, so we'll have to start to find our exit soon. But I have one last subject I would like to acknowledge, and before we even get to that, I wanted to bring up that. Let's see. We have, there we go. I found it. I really wanted to kind of acknowledge a shift in power, which I think we need to
a great transition.
Give kudos to the likes of several clans that since the summertime especially have cemented themselves amongst the likes of Stoned Raiders, Vox, Vice, Iron, Pro Stars, Soviets, Nemesis, Heat, Red, to name just a few. I'd like to obviously congratulate 1% on their very fast rise. They are actually birthed from Nemesis with many a good player, so it's kind of like trading Gretzky to the Kings in some way. I mean, you're getting a lot of great players. You're going to have a great team. Another one I'd like to talk about real quickly would be Omega. Omega, you have cemented yourselves as a feared clan. You've always been solid, but you are there amongst the likes of the best. Tool Breakers, as always, a strong clan, but since the summertime, you have successfly cemented yourselves.
You definitely want to avoid getting TB
as players, and you are there as amongst the elite. All of you, to use a phrase, would be now part of the 1%.
This is of iOS, though, guys.
Yes, this is iOS. I know. I'm very sorry. I hate that I don't have an Android. and I hate we can't play Android players. That sucks because the player pool would be huge and we would have so much
I
fun.
think that would
and
fix a
all
lot
this
of
and that and
matchmaking problems
everything.
if they would combine them, but they won't.
Yes. I did get to meet some new players. Great meeting you. I got to see Roman. I haven't seen for a long time with the Tool Breakers. And many players have been able to identify themselves during game by shooting and waving at me at the start of the game. I always look for it at the start of the game. Anybody shoots me or waves at me at the beginning, even if I don't turn around and acknowledge you, if somebody shoots me, I do look as soon as I can. I always look to see who I've been playing with and see if I recognize. I take a few seconds. And so if you find me in a game, I have looked to see your name and I probably recognized you and probably said, hells yeah, that was a good time. We are going to be talking about in the near future what you've seen on some of the test servers, but we're going to wait a little bit more towards the time of their release so we know what we're going to get.
There's no point in getting upset at what hadn't been released yet.
Yes, we could. I guess we could, chat around it a little bit. To tell you the truth, I don't want to freaking do that. So we're gonna skip it and look forward to it so very, very nicely. Joshua, if you could be so kindly as to show us the door.
Can we walk through it?
It was a great time, y'all. Yeah, if you want to be thoroughly entertained, go all the way back to the beginning of the podcast. Scroll all the way to the beginning.
Please
they call it
do that.
Scrub yourself all the way to the beginning. Clean as a whistle. Yeah.
Hey,
be thoroughly entertained.
Don't forget about Mr. Piggle's channel as well.
Yeah, check that one out. Yeah, this is when we were trying to figure out things earlier. Yeah, you'd be thoroughly
the beginning.
entertained.
Good times, kids. Good times.
Where's
that door?
Yeah, hold on. I do want to say one thing.
Jason.
The 2 live streams, while it was fun, it's a lot, and we won't be doing this again most likely. It split our audience a little bit, so I don't like that.
It's like having multiple game modes happen down player pool, and now we've got 4 people watching us.
So I'll probably record my part, or I'll probably record this and post it on my channel later. But I'd hate to live stream 2 channels at once. That's a lot.
Oh, he's talking
because we have a hard enough time getting the one to freaking work. So
it's only because my wife's on her. She's usually not home when I'm recording or doing those live streams.
We gotta bust
so she's doing
her.
her. I'm telling you, man.
She's playing. Brady gonna have to cap him.
Yeah.
Joshua, we're
y'all.
Out the door.
Be blessed, y'all. Hope you, your friends, and family are happy,
the
healthy, and safe. Till next time, we will tickle y'all later. Peace.
Lancelot in part 2.
Say what?
Next week.
Lancelot? Lancelot part 2?
Looney said we never talked about the Lance.
What about the Lance?
No, I told you we're not talking about that till later.
Later. Are we out of here?